$38 trillion. America's debt. The European Union carries 14 trillion. Japan, 9 trillion. Germany, China. Everyone owes everyone. But think about it for a moment, if everyone's in debt, who's the creditor? This question keeps me up at night. Because once you learn the answer, everything you thought you knew about how the world works comes crashing down. History seems complicated, but behind it all, there's always the same mechanism: power, money, and trust. These three dance together. And when the rhythm of this dance breaks, empires collapse. What I'm about to show you today isn't a conspiracy theory. It's a system documented in official records, one that's changed the lives of millions. And you're inside this system, whether you realize it or not. England, 1694. King William is at war with France and the treasury is empty. The gold's run out. The army's starving. The classic solution: raise taxes, forcibly take from the wealthy. But this time, a different game was played. The Bank of England was founded. The first true central bank. And what it did was genius-level cunning: it lent money to the king. In return, it would receive interest, continuously, without interruption. Do you understand? The state was no longer just spending today's money. It started spending tomorrow's money, your grandchildren's money, today. And of course, it had to give something in return. That something was a government bond. A piece of paper. But this paper could be bought and sold. The DNA of the modern financial system lies hidden in that paper. America saw this and copied it. As it expanded westward, it used the same method. It grew through debt. Japan, China, everyone played the same game. Borrowing was no longer a weakness. It was power itself. Let's go back to America's $38 trillion debt. So who owns this debt? The surprising answer: mostly itself. Yes, you heard that right. $6 trillion of the US government's debt is owed to its own institutions. Social Security fund, pension funds. Left pocket paying right pocket. Of the remaining $32 trillion, the bulk is held by American citizens. Your retirement funds, your investment accounts. Your money. Banks, insurance companies, investment funds, they all hold government bonds. Foreigners hold only $8 trillion. Japan tops the list with $1.1 trillion. China is second with $800 billion. The UK, Luxembourg follow behind. You know those people who say that we're in debt to China? The reality, only 2% of the total debt is held by China. But that's not the truly terrifying part. Because this isn't just an American issue. This is a global web. Japan lends to America. America to Europe. Europe to developing nations through the IMF. Those countries turn around and buy bonds from advanced economies. It's like hot potato. Everyone's holding someone else's IOU. Every promise backed by another promise. Imagine a poker table. Everyone's borrowed chips from everyone else. The game continues because no one's leaving the table. But there's a darker side to this. You know who's behind these bonds? It's not you and me. Let me tell you that. Investment funds. Hedge funds. Pension funds. Central banks. And most importantly, international markets. They determine the credit score. They decide which country will sink, which will survive. With one finger movement, a country's interest rate spikes, its economy collapses. Greece experienced this in 2010. Sri Lanka in 2022. Lebanon, Turkey, Venezuela. Now I'm going to tell you the darkest secret of the system. Central banks don't create debt. They erase it. How? Simple, by purchasing government bonds. What happens when the European Central Bank buys a Greek bond? A balance sheet entry changes. The government's debt becomes the bank's asset. Look, the Bank of Japan holds more than 50% of Japanese government bonds. So the Japanese government is essentially in debt to itself. See the trick? A debt wasn't eliminated. It just moved. It transformed into another balance sheet entry. There's no real value behind any money. Every dollar, every euro, every yen is actually an IOU, a IOU note. What we call money is trust. Just trust. As long as investors believe you can pay the interest, you never even pay the principal. The machine keeps turning. But what if it collapses? Greece, 2010. Investors panicked. Bond yields spiked. The European Union brought a rescue package. But the price was heavy. Austerity. Taxes rose. Spending was cut. People poured into the streets. The word bailout became synonymous with sacrifice. Sri Lanka in 2022 ran out of foreign currency reserves. Couldn't service its external debt. No fuel. No electricity. The government fell. Lebanon in 2019, bank doors closed. People couldn't access their savings. Money turned into worthless paper overnight. And they all collapsed for the same reason, trust. But notice, the system didn't collapse. It just restructured. Old debts are erased, new ones are written. The machine doesn't stop. It can't stop. Because 21st century governments weren't designed to pay debt. They were designed to roll over debt. They call it rollover. Issue new bonds, pay off old bonds. Like a shark. It must keep swimming. Otherwise it drowns. America will never pay off its $38 trillion. Japan has been rolling over the same debt for 30 years. And interest rates are still near zero. Investors renew the deal because they have no other choice. Why? Because for them, a government bond isn't a debt, it's an asset. Pension funds hold it. Banks use it as collateral. Central banks count it as reserves. Government bonds are the backbone of the modern world. You know what would happen if governments paid off their debt, completely cleared it? The financial system would collapse. Think about it, if Washington suddenly paid off $38 trillion, banks and funds worldwide would lose their bonds. The dollar supply would shrink. Financial markets would crash. Paying off the debt would destroy the very thing that makes the system work. That's why it's never paid. It's multiplied. But in a controlled way. Politicians say we'll balance the budget. They're selling an illusion. The goal isn't to eliminate debt. It's to make debt manageable and desirable enough that the system never stops. But there's a problem here. A big problem. The gains aren't distributed equally. When we say we're all in debt, it's technically true. But interest payments don't flow equally through society. They flow to bondholders. To large investors, banks, funds. This isn't a transfer between countries. It's a transfer between classes. The system rewards those who own capital. Those who control borrowing and bond purchases win. This has been true since Rome. In ancient times, moneylenders controlled kings. Today, bond markets control governments. Creditors aren't villains. They're just parts of the same engine. But the problem is, as the engine grows, earlier promises become impossible to keep. That's when debt stops being abstract and becomes personal. So the answer to the question is this: there's no single face to blame. Not China. Not Japan. Not even Wall Street. The modern financial system has transformed into a web. Governments print it. Banks multiply it. Investors trade it. We're all both debtor and creditor. The line between debtor and creditor has blurred beyond recognition. Debt was once personal. One person to another. Now it's a global machine. Invisible, abstract, and complex. But if the balance shifts, if trust is shaken, the machine stops. And then we'll see, debt was always a promise that could never be kept. If this video made you uncomfortable, good. It means you're starting to ask the right questions. History doesn't repeat itself, but if you don't understand it, it will crush you anyway. Subscribe. Because the answers are hidden in history. And I'll show you where to look.